All right, everybody, welcome to episode 5 of the ATRL Charts podcast.
Hey everyone, it's Hair 55 from ATRL.
And is you, Mitch, also from ATRL. We have a lot to talk about today.
First thing we'll talk about is the new Hot 100, obviously came out on Monday. Featured Can't Feel My Face, returning to number 1 for a third week, but more significantly for ATRL, Cool for the Summer, missing the top 10 with a second week at number 11.
That was a hit thread. Actually, I think Demi, she has done way better than I expect. We had a very good. I predict her to peak at number 15 as best. I'm gonna blame her, and I'm honest with this. I'm gonna blame her for not using controversy on her side with the BMA performance. I was so disappointed when she didn't kiss a woman at the stage. That would help and to give enough boost to get a top 10 hit. But it's like not happening this time for Demi.
Yeah, I was very disappointed for her because I was very rooting for that song, and for it to peak at 11 twice, it's just like, wow, it's like, damn, you
Bah.
can't get in the top 10 at all. But it's one of those situations where it's a summer song, and now we're in the process where the song is probably about to come down from its high or from its peak. So it's still going somewhat strong on radio, but we can't expect that to last forever. Now that we are officially or almost officially done with the summertime, and if you remember "Summertime Sadness" a couple years ago,
Yeah.
it started to just tumble right after Labor Day ended. So don't be surprised if it happens with this song. But I mean, it did well. It didn't flop.
Really.
A lot of people are saying it could have done better for Demi, but in the end, it's gonna go platinum, and it's a hit for her.
And I feel like the same thing happened 2 years ago with Calvin Harris's Summer. Just completely dropped off on sales after this time of year. And as we can see, true to that pattern, Cool for the Summer is number 32 on iTunes at the moment. That's lower than Honey, I'm Good. That's lower than Where Are You Now. That's lower than Lean On. So it is dropping pretty quickly. And although it won't have much longevity, it won't be a hugely remembered song in the vein of Summertime Sadness and Summer. It was a hit. It definitely did as well as Really Don't Care. If not, I would arguably better. It's already done better on radio. It's already done better on Spotify, where it's peaked in the top 15, I think, at number 11 or 12. So definitely a good start to the next era for the confident era for Demi Lovato.
It's definitely a good comeback for her. I'm happy for her, definitely.
So the other storyline that we mentioned of the new Hot 100 is The Weeknd returning to number 1 for a third week with Can't Feel My Face, which will probably be its last week at number 1.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm confident to say the Hills is unlocked to top America next week, and it's crazy to think he could do it with no topping any component chart. I mean, sales, streaming, or radio. Also, I'm predicting another big Silentos decrease, and probably the Hills is topping and going to the throne on the streaming song charts next week. This song has really surpassed my expectations. I remember saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to be a top 3 hit for sure," but I was not sure about the streaming future because it had already a lot of views on YouTube. But the song is still pulling some massive numbers like there's no tomorrow. So I feel honestly right now, I'm feeling because I'm so disappointed about Can't Feel My Face not topping Hot 100 at least for 5 weeks. I think The Hills is going to be a massive hit for him and probably his biggest hit.
I agree. Excuse me, and I think it'll be his biggest hit because it's such a crossover hit. I mean, Can't Feel My Face is crossover because it's getting airplay on different formats, but The Hills is also being played at pop radio as well as urban radio. And when you combine the two airplay maximums on both panels, it's very huge. So I think for that reason, the hills will be bigger than Can't Feel My Face in the end. I mean, right now it seems like Can't Feel My Face is bigger right now. Um, but it's sometimes you have to look at things at a holistic scale and just kind of say, oh wow, Hills is coming up and it's probably going to dominate. But I think the Hills will end up being bigger than Can't Feel My Face, in sales slightly, definitely on radio. Streams will probably be about the same. But yeah, it's as Hare predicted. This will be probably the last week for Can't Feel My Face, and then the Hills will take over for I don't know X amount of weeks. So
And just going back to "Can't Feel My Face" for a moment, a lot of people predicted that song to have Uptown Funk levels of ubiquity back when when it was June and the song was released, but it never panned out that way. It never had those huge sales weeks that you know Uptown Funk had in terms of the levels of mainstream exposure. Still less. I mean, "Can't Feel My Face" had some major promo spots, VMAs, Apple, the Apple Music launch, but still was not able to click with the public the same way that Uptown Funk did. Which is, it's fine because it's still a big hit. 3 weeks at number one. Really, the song that cemented the weekend as a pop force. I know "Earned It" was a hit, a big hit at that too, with lots of longevity. But "Can't Feel My Face" really introduced him to the general public and made him a star. Now, I feel like the weekend you can really show how diverse he is with these 3 songs that he's had as hits. "Earned It," "Can't Feel My Face," and "The Hills." You look at "Earned It," it's a very slow sexual R&B song. You look at "Can't Feel My Face," it's an energetic commercial up-tempo pop song. And you look at "The Hills," which is kind of in between. It's a mid-tempo R&B song, but it's got pop influences. It can be played on pop radio. It's got a catchy chorus. And it reminds you of what Bruno Mars did back with, Unorthodox Jukebox, and even with Doo-Wops and Hooligans. With Doo-Wops and Hooligans, he had a song "Grenade," which was kind of like the mid-tempo pop song. It was, slightly melancholy, but still had, a pop vibe to it. You had the "Lazy Song," which was kind of the up-tempo pop, casual song. And I know it's not energetic like "Can't Feel My Face," but still. And then you had "Just the Way You Are," which is kind of like the more emotional, in a different way than "Earned It" song. And he did the same thing with Unorthodox Jukebox, too, with "When I Was Your Man," "Locked Out of Heaven," and "Young Girls." So I think you can really draw parallels here and see how diverse the weekend is, catering to an audience like the mainstream.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I can see a 200 million peak on media base for the Hills. I think it's going to be a big multi-format hit.
And it's got excellent callouts. It's been number one in callouts for 2 weeks now.
Yeah, and that's what really shocks me because the Hills is very urban leaning, and if you look at call out scores on pop radio, you always see the pop songs that trend towards the top of the scores, and you always see the urban leaning songs at the bottom, like your Fatty Waps, your Salentos, your Jadenas, Classic Mans. They all trend towards the bottom, but the Hills surprisingly is being very, 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 very embraced at pop radio, and that's what really shocks me. I mean, I'm not pissed off, but I'm just like, wow. Yeah, and that's all. It's yeah, I'm just very, very shocked.
Sorry about that.
Okay,
Yeah, no, everything's fine.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was my fault. That was because, yeah, go ahead. My internet effed up. Okay, go.
No, okay.
okay. No, it's okay. No, I was just saying that with when you look at call out scores on pop radio, you always see your normal pop songs trending towards the top of the charts, and you see your urban leaning songs trending toward the bottom. But then, like, you see your Classic Mans by Jadena, you see Fetty Wap, you see Salento, all getting these horrible call out scores on pop radio, which is typical. But then you see the Hills is at the top or near the top on the call outs on pop radio. So it's like, wow. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, now are pop listeners re-embracing the urban sounds that we used to hear on radio back in the early 2000s and the mid 2000s when R&B dominated pop radio? I mean, maybe this could be another trend back to the last decade, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I feel like that's it's great for the weekend to have the Kills top callouts. Not even "Can't My Fa-" I don't think "Can't Feel My Face" even did that. So really good for him And I think that he's gonna have a number one for at least 3 4 weeks on lock. Um, so speaking of the weekend, he had a massive album debut with 414,000 copies sold in his debut. Not copies sold, album equivalent units. Sorry, 323,000 I think copies sold. Um,
Yeah.
and we have some other big releases coming up. This is a packed fourth quarter, starting with Fetty Wap. How will he do?
Fetty Wap, I believe, is going to open, decently. He's not going to be massive. Like, I'm not expecting beauty behind the madness numbers for Fetty Wap. Well, in pure sales, actually, Fetty, the weekend opened with about 325,000 copies in his first week. Um, I see Fetty doing around the 150, 200,000 range, which will be respectable numbers. In just pure sales. Sales plus streaming will be a different story, as I believe he will pretty much do very very well on that component as well. And he's built up a nice following in the past year. I mean, virtually, we did not know who Fetty Wap was a year ago. Now, today, you have your youngins citing Trap Queen, you have your teens, you have your adults, and even my mother is texting me Trap Queen lyrics. It's like, okay, now I see this man has penetrated into many levels of demographics. I'm not saying that everyone is going to rush out and buy his album, but I think the reception is going to be well enough for him to sell at least 150,000 in the first week. And then anything after that, it just depends on the promotion and whatever next single that he has, because he's had three active singles going in. Trap Queen, which was his pretty much his first single, and then My Way, 679, and then I'm not sure what's going on with Again, but
It's just waiting. I mean,
He's doing good.
it has to wait. It
Yeah.
has to wait
Yeah.
because 679 is gaining hard on radio, so it has to wait for 679 to finish, and then I think they'll push again to radio, and then I feel like RGF Island, which is a song by him that you can find on SoundCloud actually, as you could with all of his songs before he got popular.
yeah.
RGF
Also,
Island,
Trap Queen is top 10 on Spotify after all this month. So, oh my god.
yep, it's been top 15 for almost 5 6 months now. So amazing job by Fetty Wap. And RGF Island, which is one of his songs, is currently not album only, even though the album's made up for pre-order. So people are taking that as a single, as a signal that it might end up being the next single. But that's a while from now. That's after 679 has finished and after Again has started, peaked, and finished. So a while from now. What do we think about Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato, who will also be releasing in quarter four?
Yes, another typical ATRL and stump fights. Let's see. I see fire coming up in the next weeks. I'm ready. I think they're going to be neck on neck, almost as how Demi and Stars Dance, her previous eras, performed in 2013. But I'll say Selena is going to impress us this time. I think she has just slayed me all this era. I'm really shocked by how well she has done so far. She seems to keep building her fan base, which is good. Also, GP is definitely here for her. Streaming is going to be awesome to her. Maybe around 140,000 copies for Selena and 120,000 for Demetria.
Yeah, I agree. I think Demi will open slightly smaller than Selena. Just going by previous trends and going by the way that their eras are going right now. um, I think Demi will probably. I think they both will do in the 100K range. Not sure how high or how low that's going to be, but I want to just comment on Selena. I think that her era is doing pretty well. I think Interscope is doing this era very great. I mean, she hasn't promoted. And I know that her fans have been very angry that she has not promoted the
That lazy
song
ass
yet.
bitch.
Yeah, the lazy girl. So I think once she starts to promote and starts to, break out of that, break that stereotypical Disney mode, I think that will push her further into the mainstream pop listening crowd and just do wonderful things for the era. But I do think they both will be open with similar numbers.
Yeah.
I'm not sure in terms of long term, like whose era who will do better than whose, but just going by what we have so far, I mean, Good For You was the bigger hit, and Same Old Love, which was actually released a year ago, a week ago, flew straight into the top 10 on iTunes, which for Selena, that's pretty good considering Slow Down, I think, stalled in the top 20 on iTunes, and then it kind of just trickled down until it became a single.
Purple
So
driving here.
yeah, so we're already seeing Selena becoming bigger than what she was with Stars Dance, and that remains to be seen with Demi because I believe she's releasing Confident, the single, this Friday. So we'll have to see how that does on iTunes and kind of judge from there.
And I feel like on the Billboard 200, Selena will have the advantage, and the reason is because of SEA and TEA,
Yeah.
which obviously the streaming and album tracks sold. And this is because Selena has historically done better on streaming than Demi. Good For You and Cool for the Summer followed this rule. Good For You made the top 5 on Spotify. Cool for the Summer did not make the top 10. And we look at a song like Same Old Love, which in fact is already top 50. It's into the 40s on Spotify and has made a few new peaks over the past few days. I believe that Same Old Love can be a strong streamer as well. So I feel like on the Billboard 200, Selena has the edge. On pure sales, I don't think there's a way to predict that right now. It's a very similar situation between both girls. 100K is reasonable. I think anywhere between 95 to 120K is likely for the first week for both Confident and Revival. But obviously, like you said, Mitch, it remains to be seen which album will have more longevity. It'll depend on the singles because Same Old Love can either be a huge hit or, less likely, it could end up flopping. It could. There's a chance. It's early enough in its run that it could. So we'll have to see what the singles do, because I think the singles are going to be what makes a difference in terms of the album's longevity.
And thanks God they are not releasing in the same week, because that would crash the ATRL server. Oh, that would be very bad.
Well, it's not going to be so great when One Direction and 5 Seconds of Summer release in the same week, and then the next week I think Adele's rumored to be released, and that's going to be a mess.
Also, Bieber and One Direction are releasing at the same week, so that's fun. That's
Yeah,
going to be
sorry,
fun.
that's what I was trying to say, but I said
No.
I said 5
Okay.
Seconds of Summer instead. I'm stupid. All right. Speaking of releases, we already talked about a few, but now Lana Del Rey is coming out with one.
Yeah, Lana Del Rey is definitely not coming for her highest week sales ever with Honeymoon. Honestly, I do believe Ultraviolence era hurt her sales overall. The demand should have decreased, but still she has this loyal fan base, and streaming is always a good Lana's friend. So yeah, I see her pulling bigger numbers than Halsey. There've been a lot of comparisons because both artists come from Tumblr, which is I see her pulling bigger numbers than Halsey, which is understandable since Del Rey is an already established artist. But compared to Ultraviolence, 182,000 copies debut, I would say for Honeymoon around 140,000 copies.
Yeah, it's hard to predict her. I mean, I didn't expect Ultraviolence to do that well when it came out last summer. I was very shocked. I mean, I know she had a strong start with Born to Die previous to that or prior to that, but I was still shocked when she opened up with 180,000. And then now, with High by the Beach, which was a hit, in its own right. It opened up, on the digital songs chart with respectable numbers, considering that it did not get really much radio airplay. It was just really driven by the fans and casual listeners. I wouldn't be surprised if it did similar or smaller numbers to Ultraviolence. I mean, we've already seen that she doesn't need radio to sell albums. Look at Born to Die. It is still on the Billboard 200 chart and still selling 2,000 copies a week, and it's already sold over 1 million copies. Just based on Summertime Sadness, which was the only hit from the album, but that itself needed, a remix. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if she did similar numbers to Ultraviolence, or slightly smaller. I don't see why there'd be a reason why she would completely just flop out the blue, because she's not that type of
No.
artist. But I'm definitely thinking she's going to do at least somewhere in the 120, 170 range. Given the drop of album sales recently, I think those would be respectable numbers for her.
Yeah, I was just about to say that she would probably do around 130K. And actually, you know what? With a Billboard Hot 100 Top 10 single under her belt, she could do more. With the momentum coming off that, just a spectacular sales week there. With I don't know what was it, 230,000 sold. Just amazing numbers. And we'll see how that boosts her album performance. But 130K is the most likely prediction I have right now. Anyways, the next thing we're going to talk about is Justin Bieber's single "What Do You Mean," which obviously debuted at number 1 on the Hot 100, smashing daily Spotify records, 1.2 million, 1.3 million every day, huge YouTube views, going number 1. Now, obviously, with these singles being front-loaded is always a concern. So will this song have longevity? Will it end up getting back to number 1?
Well, yeah, I will.
Oh yes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. Go. You.
Okay.
It's your turn.
I just want to say that this is his first single to spend multiple weeks atop the Hot Digital Songs chart. Boyfriend spent 1 week at the top of the Digital Songs chart. I'm not sure how Baby did in his first week, but this is big for Justin Bieber, because we always know him as being front loaded, and he'll sell a lot the first week and then tumble the second week and every week after that. But the thing that's different with this song is I think it's clicking with a lot of people, and I think that a lot of people are being receptive to to his sound, because this is kind of similar in the vein of "Where Are You Now," which was a hit this summer with Skrillex and Diplo. So he kind of piggybacked off of that and kind of wrote the vibe and said, "Okay, well, let me do something similar," and it worked out for him. Obviously, he's still on number 1 on iTunes, going into his 3rd week. Radio is loving the song, and he's been at the top on Spotify since day 1, essentially pulling 1 million plus daily streams in the U.S. So this is his biggest single to date, or will be his biggest single once it's all said and done. Will it have longevity? I think it will. Just because of streaming being such a huge factor these days, I think that will keep him on the charts for a very, very long time. And just judging by the numbers that we have right now, and the fact that he's still number 1 on on iTunes and Spotify, I think he's going to have longevity.
And I feel like this is definitely going to be his biggest hit. The streaming has been outrageous, just outrageous. It's 1.3 million on Spotify says it all in one day. We thought "See You Again" in April was massive, with 1 million every day for like a week. Yeah, this has done 1 million every day for like almost 3 weeks and counting. So, yeah, it's a huge streaming hit, not letting up. There's so much buzz about it. I hear the girls at my school talking about it. I hear it on the radio all the time. I hear it. I've heard it used in a lot of YouTube videos already. So really encouraging for Justin Bieber to come back like this after what he's gone through the last 2 years. So good for him.
Bieber is not playing this time. I think we already learned he's now over. ATRL was wrong, although that's not a surprise anyway. He has a lot of room to grow on radio. I think he's definitely. This could be his biggest hit, definitely.
All right. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is Downtown by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. Now, this song is very unique in terms of the structure of
It's
the song.
messy. It's messy.
The structure of the song is very interesting. It's very atypical. It's got a different pattern from most songs. But I think the public finds it really fresh. And it's responded by putting it into the top 10 on iTunes, currently at number 9, and surging into the top 20 on Spotify, and with its, I think, second largest. Let's see, fifth largest bullet on pop radio. So Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, early indications are this is going to be another big hit for them. What do you guys think about Downtown?
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this song. Macklemore and Ryan Lewis used to be massive in 2013, but now with Downtown, I don't know. First, the song it doesn't click with me at all. I don't know. I feel like it's messy. It has this. It reminds me kind of Third Shop and Uptown Funk at the same time, but in a bad way because it's like a bad copy of those songs. The song already is a top 10 hit because it was at number 18 last week. It decreased this week, but that was expected since the BMA's boost is over. Radio seems to like everything or whatever Macklemore puts or releases. I'm not sure. I'm kind of. I'm confused about the streaming's future of this song. This doesn't seem like a big future for the song. So I don't know. I feel right now top 10 hit for me, but I don't see it to be that big.
Yeah, I've I've heard the song. I just joked around and said, "Oh, it's downtown funk," because it sounds like uptown funk a little bit to me. I mean, not you know, yeah, but
Shade
I
a
mean,
bit.
it just okay. Let me just talk about the actual. So, let me just talk about the charts. Okay, honestly, I think this will be a big hit for them.
Breathe.
Obviously, I don't think it will see thrift shop levels of this song. Maybe not even Can't Hold Us type levels of this song. I think their second single will probably do better. I think this is just a reaction to the hype that they've kind of left or kind of built up since they've been gone. Because they came off a very huge era from 2013. The thrift shop Can't Hold Us, Same Love, and then White Walls, which was a top 20 hit, which was still big in its own right. But I think this song will definitely go top 10. I mean, that's without a doubt. But as Alex said, the song is very atypical because it doesn't really have a structured melody or a structured sound to it, which can work in their favor, and it can pay off for them to be a huge hit. But yeah, I think it'll definitely be a top 10 hit. I'm just not saying it's gonna be like massive or like Uptown Funk levels, because I remember with Uptown Funk that song blew up out of nowhere. I like even the hooligans didn't see that coming. Like they just said, Bruno Mars released a collaboration with Mark Ronson. Okay, ha ha ha. And then 2 weeks later, it's chilling in the top 5 on iTunes. Like what? Where'd that come from? So, but yeah.
And then it became the biggest song almost the biggest song of all time. So that's like wow.
That is one of the best single threads I've ever read on this forum. And just the first 2 pages is like, oh yeah, cool, it's a jam. Cool.
Exactly.
It's a jam. And then, like, a month later, it's like, oh yeah, number 1. And then a few months later, it's like, oh yeah, it's still number 1. Then a few months later, it's like, oh yeah, it's still number 1. And then it's like, okay, well, this is actually, like, could be legit the biggest song of the entire decade. Yeah. So, like, that escalated very quickly. So it's very fun read. Anyways, so Downtown, for me, honestly, I don't think it's going to go to the top 5. I think that it'll peak in the lower half of the top 10, perhaps number 6 or number 7, because what's going to happen is that the streaming for Downtown will kind of flatline, in my opinion, in the lower half of the top 10 on streaming songs, or in the 10 to 13 range. In terms of the sales, I think they'll be decent, like in that same range, but not stellar, unless they perform it again, which I don't think any performances are scheduled at the moment. And then airplay will be the strongest component for Downtown. I think it'll be a pop radio top 3 hit, top 5 hit at least. So that will be the strongest component in my opinion. I think it'll peak around number 7.
Yeah.
Anyway,
When is it on Spotify, by the way? I haven't seen the numbers.
Spotify, it is number 15.
Oh, it's not that bad. I thought it was like the 30s.
Yeah, no, it's done pretty well on Spotify. But I think airplay will still be the strongest component. It'll probably stabilize Spotify pretty soon. Anyways, next thing we'll talk about is Shawn Mendes. Well, I don't think any of us could admit that we saw Stitches going top 10 on Spotify. We've seen teen heartthrobs after post Justin Bieber try to make this happen. We've seen it with people like Austin Mahone, and obviously it didn't even come close to working. So, what has Shawn Mendes done right? And I know Shawn Mendes had to try a few times because Life of the Party was not a hit. So he had to wait a bit before he got his hit. But Stitches is his hit. Why is he having success now?
Honestly, I think this is probably why. I think Stitches sounds different than anything that Austin Mahone has done. Different than anything Shawn Mendes has offered to us in the past. And I might be stepping on a limb here, but it's kind of different from typical songs that we hear on the radio by Justin Bieber. And I think people are just maybe drawn to the quote-unquote mature factor of this song because it doesn't talk about, oh, let's have a party, let's go and get some friends, blah, blah. Like, here's this 16, 17-year-old guy talking about heartbreak. So I think that kind of works in his favor, and it has a whole, like, organic, soulful feel to it. So I think a lot of people are drawn to that. And I think that's working in his favor. And like you said, he's released, Life of the Party and another single. I can't think of the name of it, but I think this is his third single, and it is headed for the top 10 on pop radio. It is already top 10 on Spotify, and it's looking likely that it's going to be a top 10 on the Hot 100, which is going to just further the Canadian domination that's already going on in the top 10 with The Weeknd and Justin Bieber. So I think the fact that the song is different for him and for his age range is working for him. And it's all about, the cute factor, like, oh my god, he's cute, I gotta check him out, blah blah. I think,
He's good. He's cute, though.
He's underage, so I'm not gonna comment. But it's I think that all that is working in his favor, and it's just refreshing to see again new artists break out with such in such a short amount of time. So yeah, I think that's all just working in his favor.
Yeah. Sorry, go.
No, yeah, I was going to say Heartbreak Sales, see Adele case or Sam Smith case, and now, right now with the Stitches, which I'm agree with you, Mitch, saying he's a 17 years old guy singing about heartbreaking. I honestly think because Austin Mahone is like trying too hard, but I don't know. I mean, his thing is like is bad.
Also, there's a problem that he made a song called Yeah. That's a problem.
It's like you can be serious with releasing a fucking song like that. I mean, that's, oh my god, what the fuck is that? The song sounds cheap. I mean, I have heard all the song. Well, not all his songs, but the singles at least. And it sounds like this typical boy band sounds in the early 1000s. I mean, that sounds dated and cheap. That sound doesn't click with music as seen right now. With the Stitches, I think it sounds fresh. I was listening to the song, I was hearing the song on the radio yesterday, and it sounds really fresh, and it sounds really like a good hit for me. And it's exploding right now, and I see I like the song. I was not I didn't like any song of Shawn Mendes till now, till I heard Stitches. It kind of reminds me of All About That Bass because it sounds like unique, it sounds fresh. It's like a cute pop song. It's like, oh, it's well, it's nice. It's not like a typical boy trying to make a song about getting a girl and oh, I'm sexy and I'm cute and I mean those things. And that's Austin problems actually. I think the music he's recording and the music he released is just bad.
Well, that just about sums that up. I cannot disagree with any of that. But Stitches has really surprised me by becoming a really big overall hit. 7 on iTunes, 8 on Spotify, 12 on pop radio. That's very well rounded.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked how big the song is becoming on streaming. I didn't expect it, and the video is not like that interesting anyway.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's come out of nowhere for me, honestly. So very surprising for Shawn Mendes.
So what do you think about the peak of the song?
Well, here's my thing. I feel like on pop radio, it's going to be a huge hit. Based on what it's doing right now, it's just outside of the top 10, and it's climbing with a plus 1800 bullet. I feel like the thing is that it will stall on radio at around the same time it stalls on streaming, which it'll stall around the same time it stalls on YouTube. It'll peak at the same time. So when it peaks, it'll fall quickly because it's climbing at the same rate on all metrics.
Yeah.
But I feel like it is going to have a high peak because of that. It's going to have a high peak, but less longevity. I feel like it honestly has a chance of peaking inside the top maybe 8. I think I said earlier that I think that Downtown could peak at number 7. Well, I think Stitches could repeat that. I think Stitches could definitely peak inside the top 10. On the other hand, what's less likely, I think it's less likely, but what could happen is that it peaks on one format, one component quickly. Like maybe its streaming it peaks quickly. Because like you said, there's nothing really remarkable about the YouTube video. Or maybe what happens is it gets, who knows, maybe we'll get bad call-out scores when the call-outs come in on Friday. Because so far, it's gotten very good call-out scores. Which has fueled its rise on pop radio. It's 5th in terms of if you rank it by positive. But if those call-out scores become bad, and you saw that happen quickly with a song like Black Magic by Little Mix, and then it got, it's struggling to gain any momentum. So if that happens, Stitches will slow down on radio. So it's something that we'll have to see about.
Right.
Anyways, next thing we'll talk about is the little single that could. Like I'm Gonna Lose You from Megan Trainor and John Legend. I think this is the 4th time we've talked about this out of 5. Yeah. 4th time out of 5 podcasts we've covered this song. Because
enough longevity.
It's still kind of just hanging around, top 20 on iTunes. No biggie. No, still top 2 on callouts. So impressive, to see the public supporting this song. Especially when you consider that she hasn't had a song on the radio consistently since Winter with Lips Are Moving, because Dear Future Husband, as we all know, never took off on radio.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect case of, we mentioned before, you have a label who releases a ballad type song or like a slower song in the midst of songs like Cool for the Summer and Where Have You Now. It's like pop programmers are conflicted. It's like, okay, can we jam this into our playlist? Like, are we afraid that people are going to turn the stations when they hear this? But they did all they could. Like, I mean, the song gained in airplay all summer. It didn't crash. It didn't burn. It just either stayed stable or kept rising. Now that the summer is over, and then we see the airplay going up. It's like, okay, well, maybe the radio stations did say, let's just hold back on this song until we get a new, fresh set of fall type songs in rotation, and I think that's why you saw songs like Stitches taking off, Photograph, which is still taking off on radio. Um, yeah,
Payola.
payola, whatever you want to call it, and now you have now you have like I'm gonna lose you, which is finally looking like it's going to take off. Fingers crossed. So I think now we can say, okay, will this song be a hit? Will it flop? Blah blah. I honestly think it's gonna be a decent sized hit. I think it's still too early to say if it's gonna be top 10 or not because it's still building, but it's not gonna be a complete flop. It just actually went top 50 on the Hot 100, actually at number 50 this week, and it's definitely going to rise next week and the following week. So it's just nice to see the radio finally giving this song a push, and the sales are actually responding well. Last time I checked, the song was at it's at number 16 on iTunes, where it was in the 20s last week. So that's a really really good sign.
And I'll tell you what, a testament to this song's replay value is that I've been listening to it since January when the album came out. I think it still sounds good, and I still listen to it. I feel like it does have the right mood for fall. Radio programmers were really reluctant to play it during the summer because it's just so slow and John Legend, and it's like it's kind of just a nice melody, very casual, not something that you want to hear blasting down. Roll your windows down in the summer, 90 degrees, party. No, this song evokes images of kind of like sweet romance and unconditional love and themes that emotionally are much more tied with the fall season. Now, to the chart performance and the technical aspect of this, its sales longevity could really hurt it in the long run. Because it's been doing so well on iTunes for so many months that what could happen is that it could have a kind of a dampened sales peak because of that. Its peak might not be as high, sacrificing it for longevity. And, you really, despite the several positive updates in a row lately, getting its bullet up around 500 now, you have to remember that it's still only number 50 if you include recurrence on pop radio, and if you don't include recurrence, if you just use the published charts, it's still not even top 20, I don't think. So this is a song that could definitely pull a Dear Future Husband or a Marvin Gaye, which obviously are both Meghan Trainor songs that struggling to find their footing on radio. Marvin Gaye actually with a negative update today, its first one, appears to have peaked at 15, which, you know what, reminds me of Dear Future Husband, because Dear Future Husband actually peaked higher than 15, if I recall correctly. I think Dear Future Husband peaked higher than 15 on pop radio. If I can just check that real quick on the pop radio archives, just give me a second to see if that's true.
Wow.
I don't. It might not be though. Let me check. Yeah, no, it doesn't. They actually, wow. Okay, so Marvin Gaye, right, is at 15 and it got this negative update. Dear Future Husband peaked at 16. So right next to each other. The same situation happening. So I feel like I'm Gonna Lose You could, even though the call-out scores are great, just stop at 15, stop at 16. I could totally see that, unfortunately. However, the call-outs are encouraging. Call-outs for Dear Future Husband were not good. Call-outs for Marvin Gaye were very average.
It's the type of song that doesn't sound that well on radio. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And the streaming is going to be a big question mark too, because it's not even on the top 100 on Spotify.
Yeah, that's my concern. I mean, that's the problem for Marvin Gaye's and Like I'm Gonna Lose You to become a bigger hit. I mean, the streaming, and that's surprising because when Meghan Trainor came out of nowhere was because more helped by the streaming. I mean, All About the Bass was a massive and it was a huge streaming hit, and Lips Are Moving was very, very helped and pushed to top 5 thanks to streaming as well. And right now, streaming is not helping that much to Meghan Trainor, and that's kind of interesting. I see both songs, either Marvin Gaye or Like I'm Gonna Lose You, being just decent sized hits. Maybe they're going to perform like Dear Future Husband, but I honestly don't see them being or peaking higher.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, like I said, we've covered this again. 4 out of the 5 podcasts we've done, just to emphasize the longevity here. And
Next episode is going to be a top on Hot 100, and we're going to be it was a hit.
yeah,
After
yeah.
all,
I mean, I think Marvin Gaye, another situation where you're just like, what could have been if everything was just more organized and concentrated around it, rather than, like I'm gonna lose you getting some attention and Dear Future Husband still getting some attention at the time. Ugh, it's kind of even almost cringeworthy thinking about the way that was managed. But anyways, we'll see what happens with that.
Anyway, I mean, at least we can say Meghan Trainor has no flops so far for her career, which is awesome for a debut era.
And I feel like another person that we should be watching right now, who we should be curious about, is Tove Lo. Talking Body was a hit. Number 12
Yeah, it
or
was
11,
12.
I'm forgetting. 12, I think. 12, yeah.
12.
So, but it was a hit. It did very well on pop radio, and it did pretty well, decently well on Spotify too. Top 20 there for quite a while. So, with Talking Body having pretty decent longevity, and obviously Habits being the big hit that it was, there's some talk around her next single, Moments, being delayed on pop radio. Originally, its ads date was next Tuesday. It's been pushed back to 3 Tuesdays from now. So, do we think that this song will have a proper release? Will it become a hit? Is the Queen of the Clouds era, which has been going on for a year now, over?
Wait a damn minute. What happened to Time Bomb?
What's that? No, honestly, what happened was
A flop, it seems.
It was scheduled for ads at the end of July, and then the airplay wasn't, I guess, what they wanted it to be, so they just scrapped it. So I don't know if we should count that as a single or not, but I guess it was
A buzz single. If it doesn't work,
I wouldn't
it's a
even
buzz
call
single.
it a buzz single because it didn't buzz. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of like ugh.
That's sad. Stop. That's sad.
Now,
Poor
Moments
Saul.
is the next single. It was like Alex said, it was supposed to go for ads next week, but now it's scheduled for October 6th or something like that. I don't know what's going on with Tove Lo and Republic Records, which is the label she signed to in the U.S. Because at the iHeart Summit, which was about a month ago, her label and her team were already ready for the single to go out. So this being pushed back was kind of a shock. I went in the thread today and I was like, "What? It got pushed back?" But that could be for a number. A number of reasons. Maybe because they want to find out, how long the video would take, whatever. But as far as it being hit, I don't know because they waited too much time between Talking Body and now. They tried it with Time Bomb and that didn't happen. But Time Bomb is really, in my opinion, not that radio friendly. But I think they may have.
It's one of the worst tracks on the album.
Try to get things off the ground. So the fan in me hopes that Moments will be a single, but you just kind of have to wonder, with these new artists, they're pretty much starting from scratch every time they release a new single, unless they keep the momentum going. So if this does become a hit, it may be one of those things where it doesn't blow up until after Christmas, just like with Talking Body. It actually blew up like months after its original release.
Yeah, well, here's what concerns me. The hesitation is fine, because you don't want to pick a bad single and kill the era. You just don't. Jason Derulo just did that. You don't want to do that, okay? So you don't want to pick a bad single and kill the era. That's fine. But it's been around 4 months now since Talking Body peaked.
Yeah.
There's a line there between waiting to figure out what's the best marketing decision and being totally nervous and apprehensive when you can't do that. You have to put something out because you kill the era anyway. If you wait too long, you kill the era. If you release a bad single, you kill the era. Either way.
Yeah.
So
People is gonna forget you.
the album's been out for basically a year. Habits has been. It's been 14 months since Habits debuted on the pop radio chart. This is a long, extended era, and it's only had 2 singles.
Yeah.
So, in terms of saying moments might be a hit after Christmas, I don't see that. I just don't. Because, you know what Calvin Harris tried to do is, like, 2 years into his era, he tried to push Thinking About You, or whatever that was, and it flopped. It's not surprising. I mean, you can't extend eras like that, especially when the last single you put out
flopped.
well, it wasn't a flop. I mean,
It was not even a thing.
Like, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a flop because it wasn't a thing. It was never a single, really. Like, it wasn't treated. It was a single, but it wasn't. So honestly, I hate to say it, but that's it. This era's done. I can't see another hit coming from this era.
Also, you can do that. You can do it when you're not an established artist. You're just a new artist.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
Rihanna, obviously, when she comes back, I could totally see her having a huge hit. You know, I mean, she came with 4 or 5 seconds and had not huge, but it was a hit, and I could see her doing that again, even though even if she takes another year off and she doesn't release until like spring of 2016, because she's Rihanna. Tove Lo is not Rihanna, and Tove Lo, this is her first era. It's actually really bad. It's horrible to see.
And she's not even American, and that's not that good at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another factor is that, I don't think she's really trying to be very, very big. I think she's just complacent with, just going on tour and doing radio interviews here and there.
Yeah, totally.
Because she's still on tour. I mean, she's actually coming to New York next month, and I'm going to go see her. So I think she's just content with just getting her name out there, like with the fan and just building a fan base, which, I mean, on the flip side, can be very good because when she comes back with a brand new, fresh era, then she'll have a whole new set of fans, and then maybe the label or whomever she signed with can invest more into her. But the fact that she got, 2 hits from her first era with barely even trying is pretty good. But with this whole Moments release, it's honestly, I just don't want to talk about it because it pisses me off. But it's looking bleak. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So that's that. There's really not much else to say. There's not really a way to sugarcoat that. It's just bad. It's just bad marketing. It's a bad push, bad promotion.
Bad decisions happen.
Yeah, just bad things.
You can be perfect on everything.
All right,
Yeah.
time for our segment. Will It Go Top 10, which we do on every podcast. We take 5 or 6 songs that we think have decent cases at least for going top 10. We say whether they go top 10. Obviously, if you want us to cover a song, post it in the thread. Tweet us at Charts Podcast. Yada yada yada. Let's get started with El Perdón by Nicky Jam and Enrique Iglesias.
El Perdón. About it. I honestly, if anything, I mean, it can be any bigger than Bailando, for example. It won't be bigger than that hit. El Perdón maybe in top 40 if it's held by radio, which it seems like a good option right now. But just like that, top 40, and I don't see that happening actually.
Yeah, I don't see it going top 10. I think it's gonna probably be something similar to Bailando, where it just have this extreme longevity. Because it's already spent apparently 25 weeks on the Hot 100 and it has not even reached the top 50 yet. So it has that going for it already. But top 10, yeah, no. I think the chances of that happening are probably 10%. I mean, Enrique does get lucky from time to time, but I just don't see that as one of these singles that will be one of his, like, lucky shots. So, yeah, I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no as well. I'll give it a low chance. Maybe 10-20%. Unless something happens or they perform it or something. Right now, it's got a pretty low bullet on pop radio. 276. So that's okay. I mean, and then the streaming, it's not in the top 50 on Spotify. Still hasn't appeared there. And then the iTunes performance, 106 and 150. So combined, it's probably in the 70s, I think. I mean, nothing really shockingly good. So it's on course to be like kind of a moderate hit. I think it will go top 40, but no, it won't go close to top 10. Okay,
Well, it's impressive if you consider it's a Spanish song.
Yep,
Trying to be
absolutely, because those it's extremely rare to hear a song with this kind of reggaeton influences on the radio these days. The closest that we've come to that really is like.
Thanks God for you guys, because I fucking listen to reggaeton all the time and this radio shit. I think America sucks in that way, honestly.
Well,
I need to say that.
I mean, I could. To me, it seems like it can get very repetitive, but I'm an outsider. I don't listen to that much reggaeton, so yeah. Anyways, next, we kind of sort of touched on this in podcast 2, but Here by Alessia Cara.
Here, I don't think so. I mean, it's moving very slow. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's flopping or anything like that. But I just at this point, I don't see it going top 10. I mean, it's right now it's 39 on iTunes, 38, 39 on iTunes. I just for some reason it's not sticking out as a top 10 hit to me. I mean, maybe definitely like a top 30 hit. Um, my chances or my predictions of it going top 10 are probably very low, maybe like 20, 25%. And I remember she performed once on a night show, and that was really it. But she has an EP that actually came out or is coming out soon, so maybe that can help fuel the popularity of the song. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna go top 10.
Yeah, the EP came out several weeks ago.
Oh,
And it did it did what an EP from an artist like Alessia would do. Nothing remarkable about it in terms of its chart performance. I think it's a great EP, but that has nothing to do with its chart performance. Anyways, here. So I think it's going to be a sales fuel hit, which in today's Billboard charts climate is not good for prospects for going top 10. As we know, sales have roughly a 20% influence on the Hot 100 versus airplay with around 30% and streaming with anywhere from 40 to 50%. So a sales-driven hit is less likely to go top 10 than an airplay-driven hit or a streaming-driven hit. But if you look at the performance, this song is top 40 on iTunes at number 38, I believe.
mm-hmm.
Yet,
And how's it doing on radio?
on radio, it's still a very slow climb. It's at number 35 with recurrence. I think it's around number 20 without. A bullet, just around 500. So just, some very slow climbs. Occasionally, like the occasional negative update, and then back to the positive update. So very, very slow climb. And then on Spotify, hanging around the 60s. As if you don't know, you can see positions outside of the Spotify top 50 because they create an ordered playlist of the top 100, but without play counts, which is why I don't post it in the Spotify thread. But they do have that, and Here has been in the 60s for, I think, around 2 months now. So not much improvement there.
Yeah.
I really think it's going to be a sales-driven hit and thus miss the top 10. But I think it has the potential to go top 30 in the future.
Top 40 for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Next one. Same Old Love from Selena.
It could perform like Break Free by Ariana last year. Because I don't know, I kind of have that feeling it is going to be, it could be really big on streaming when the video comes out, and it's going to be more an airplay driven hit. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a good seller as and having that longevity Good For You has right now. And it could crack the top 10. Yeah, maybe it depends on the reception of the music video.
Yeah, I think I think it will go top 10. Actually, I'm just thinking she's gonna ride the wave of "Good for You," and right now, radio seems to be very, very receptive to the song. Well, let me not say very, very receptive, but they are being receptive to the song because it's already getting 1 million plus audience updates, and it's not even been officially added. So we know right there she's becoming a radio force right before our eyes. So I don't think she'll have a problem with radio playing the song. As you said here, is going to depend on the video, and if she makes a decent, very, very good video, unlike the "Good for You" video that she put out, then she could.
Oh,
get,
I actually,
she,
I used to hate the video, but right now I'm loving it. I don't know why.
I think maybe it grows. It probably is a video that actually
Videos
grows.
like here's the problem with videos growing.
It's
though.
very minimalistic, right? Yeah.
Here's the
But it's
yeah,
nice.
but like
No.
here's the problem with videos growing though. If you don't like a video the first time, you're not going to go back and watch it. Usually,
Yeah, it has
I'm
no
not saying that's
replay
for everyone,
value.
but typically for much of the general public, no one's going to bother to check a video they already saw and they thought was lame and mediocre. That's why it's not
Yeah.
pulling good streaming numbers. And although we still think it might break the number 6 curse, if it doesn't, the blame is going to fall on the video. That's where things went wrong.
The lazy ass that she doesn't promote the damn song.
and that too, but also the video, because making a video is a lot. You know, making a video is something that you expect by now, in 2015, to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true, and I think with Billboard adding the whole YouTube factor, and I think it's probably driving some artists to make better videos because they know now that that's part of the Hot 100, and
A big part.
as you guys said, if you don't have a good video, people are not going to watch it, and people are not going to stream it. Case in point, Birthday. The video
Style.
did not style. Talking body. Like,
Yep.
come on.
Shut up and dance.
Yep. shut up and
Exactly. So you have to compensate. If you don't have the streams, you have to be compensating in airplay and sales, just like with Ed Sheeran. Like, he's 33 on the overall streaming chart, but
overall,
he's
yeah.
in the top 10 on the Hot 100. So
And the video sucks.
yeah, I mean, it's nothing special. Like, it has no replay value. I mean, no offense to Ed. I'm not hating on the song, but the video has no replay value at all. So
I mean, it's cute because you see a baby and he's as a baby, but that's it. Like, oh, he's cute. Oh, yeah, that's it.
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Next.
So
But speaking of Photograph, though, I think a lot of people are really surprised that it hit the top 10, myself included. But I don't think people realize how big this song is on radio at the moment. It's the third most heard song in the country, just behind two really big hits. I'm sorry, it's number 2 today.
yep.
Yeah, number 2 today,
Yep.
passing Lean On. So yeah, second most heard song in the country, only behind the overall number 1. So that's not too shabby. In fact, that's really good for a fourth single. I mean, you expect the fourth single to be airplay driven anyway.
Yeah.
Because you already have people that have bought the album. You already have people that have bought the album tracks off the album. So this song has already been bought and listened to and streamed to on Spotify well before it was ever released as a single, thousands and thousands of times.
Exactly.
So you expect it to be airplay fueled.
Yeah.
But number 1 on HAC and top 5 on Pop, I was not expecting. I didn't think it would do that. It's really outperformed.
In fact, 54% of the overall points on Hot 100 are coming from airplay.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is really, really. It's
It's the biggest
Right.
airplay driving hit in the top 20.
which you expect, but I didn't expect it to be this big. And by the way, it's also top
No.
10 on AC already, which is really impressive because AC usually picks up songs after, But a song like Photograph, I guess, is so easy for AC to pick up. It's a great song for that kind of format. I could totally picture hearing that in like a dentist's office or like a
Exactly.
workplace. Absolutely. So
It fits perfectly on pop, on HEAC, and on AC. I mean, it's one of those songs that you listen and it's like, oh, it's kind of entertaining. It's like, oh, it's cool to listen to on the radio,
there you go.
And I think that's one of the reasons it's doing good. And also, it's having like a second wind because I thought it was going to peak some week around a week ago,
Same.
but it's gaining like 2 million per day right now. I think it's because the fall season is start, and it's a really great song that fits perfectly with the season.
And it's even got a small chance of going number one on overall radio. Not like being the number one most heard song in the country. If Can't Free My Face falls
Shocking.
fast enough and Locked Away maybe slows down just a bit. It's got a very small, like maybe 5-10% chance. If that happens, though, I'd say that's honestly one of the biggest chart surprises of the year. So I think that Photograph, super impressive airplay numbers. We know that airplay plays more of a role than sales on the Hot 100. So the number 23 on iTunes does not matter as much as the number 2 on airplay.
Right.
Did Thinking Out Loud top the radio songs chart? I don't remember.
No.
It did not.
It peaked at number 2,
It
right?
got blocked by Uptown Funk, I believe.
But yeah, it never, like, okay, here's the thing. It got so freaking unlucky. Oh my god. Like, all these big sales weeks, and then the biggest injustice, I think it's actually, if you look at the, yeah, in the whole Quarb archive, it's the song with the highest overall audience peak that did not reach number one overall, which its
Yeah.
overall peak was 204 million, and it missed number one. That is insane.
That is insane.
I think Stay With Me is close.
Stay
by
With Me
Sam Smith.
was, let's see, let me check out Stay With Me. Let me check, because I'm actually curious now. You've made me curious about Stay With Me's overall peak.
And it also peaked at number 2, which is unfair.
No, Stay With Me was number one on overall. Nope. Yep.
Oh.
Maybe not on the official chart, but for at least a day on Mediabase, it was number one, and it peaked at 221, so it was a higher peak than Thinking Out. But
Poor it, then.
yeah, 204 million. That's over 200. That's more than Royals,
That's awful.
right? That's more than Royals, and that was a crossover hit to like every format. And Thinking Out Loud was still bigger than it, despite only being on 4 formats: pop, HAC, AC, and urban AC. Urban AC. That's crazy. So
That's
just
crazy.
Thinking Out Loud is such a unique hit. And it got unlucky, and it was a strange but beautiful chart run, and it interests me to this day. This song's chart run. When we look back,
We can agree. Ed Sheeran is one of the biggest radio forces right now.
oh yeah, he's right up there with
Yeah.
people. He's right up there with Maroon 5 and Bruno Mars and all these
Taylor.
superstars.
For the weekend.
And Taylor, yeah, on the weekend, absolutely. So just really fascinating. Really fascinating chart run. Thinking Out Loud, I find it really fascinating. So, let's see. Well, what else has happened lately? We've had a ton of Spotify records falling. The daily play count record has been broken roughly once a day since like the last month. And I made a thread with the highest daily play counts, of songs that had gotten more than 800,000 plays in a day. When I created that thread a few weeks ago, there were 56 songs. Now there's 102, and hopefully in a few weeks there'll be 150. Streaming is just growing so rapidly now that it's becoming more important than ever to have your songs, get a good push on Spotify.
Exactly.
I mean, overall streaming. Last week we had 3 songs on overall streaming, pulling more than 20 million of streams. The Hills, What Do You Mean, and Watch Me, which is awesome. I mean, you can just imagine how hard the increase has been.
Yep, and you can't deny it at this point that streaming is a force. We are no longer in 2012 where sales were pretty big. We are in 2015 in a streaming dominated world, and a world where people are going to YouTube to listen to songs versus going on iTunes or Amazon to purchase a song for 129. Like, those days are fading away. As much as we want to not accept it, we have to accept it. We are moving in a streaming driven world, and there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, that's where the revenue is. And fellow ATRL member iHype has posted numerous threads about streaming revenue in 2013 versus now, and it has quadrupled in numbers. How much revenue streaming
Damn.
has generated. So this is the future, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we're used to sales. We're used to getting 3-4 million downloads from certain songs, maybe 6 million, but we have to accept that 2 million is probably going to be a smash, and 3 million is
Yeah.
a delicacy at this point.
I
So
mean, See You Again, 3 million, and Cheerleader and Bad Blood, not even 3 million yet. So out of all the number ones this year, only two have crossed 3 million. Those are Uptown Funk and See You Again. Of course, that's not counting Blank Space as part of 2015.
right,
Yeah.
So, and the figures for Spotify are just massive already, and they're just getting bigger. So far, we're halfway through September exactly, 15 days through out of 30. And if you look at the total plays of the top 50 combined, over these first 15 days, it's almost 300 million. So, that's just a massive figure, and it's going to keep growing. The average number of plays for the top 50 has increased 8% just in the last 4 months.
yeah,
It's great to see. I mean, I started an archive to track this kind of data, and it's just been really eye-opening to see the growth unfold right in front of my eyes. And obviously, I wasn't following music when digital sales blew up in 2006 and 07 and 08, but I'm assuming that this must be what it felt like.
yeah. Because
Kinda.
if you go back to 2006, 2007, like those years when digital sales were becoming a thing, the weekly download record was being broken almost every other week. Like I think Kanye West was the first biggest week of the year with 80,000, and then that got broken again within 2 weeks, and then it got broken again around Christmas time. So yeah, it was kind of the same thing where those records were being broken like every other few months, and then the current record is 636 by Flo Rida.
Never getting broken,
Which-
and that's still more than his
Never.
albums.
eh,
Not even Taylor never ever getting back together.
Which she could have broken actually, because she actually released that song late on a Monday night.
Yeah,
And if she'd have
I
done
remember.
that in the morning, like at 12 o'clock, she would have easily broken that record. And then even with Gaga, who released "Born This Way" on a Friday
Yeah.
and still sold 448,000 downloads in
That
3
would
days.
sell like 1 million, I believe.
Why though? Like, I don't get that. Why would you do that? Doesn't make sense. It just
Well,
doesn't make sense.
I think they were just trying to do it as a preventive measure from people not illegally downloading the song, because
yeah.
it leaked. So
Yeah.
she rush released it to iTunes, and then what also helped is she performed at the Grammys 2 days later, so that just
Oh, I remember
enhanced it even more. So
Or perhaps she was just predicting the future, and now we all release on Fridays. Well, that's
Yeah.
there
yeah,
you
so-
go.
and on that note, we're gonna wrap up this podcast, episode 5. Obviously, if you have any questions or ideas for segments that we can do in episode 6, we need some. So tweet them to me at Charts Podcast, or post them in the thread, which can always use some activity.
Don't let the thread flop, please.
No, I'll make sure the thread doesn't flop. Don't worry, the thread will not flop. And so yes, that just about wraps it up. And we'll see you next episode.
All right, thank
Yep.
you.
See you guys. I think I hope a new member is joining us in the next episode.
That's correct. Perhaps I won't give away all the details, but you might see we might have a new voice coming in about a week from now.
Season 2 of the podcast is coming.
It'll be exciting. Episode 6 could be even better. Who knows? So make sure to tune in for that. All right, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah.